Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're looking at for loops, and we'll also talk about range functions as well. So what are for loops? Okay, for loops allow us to take a data set and for each individual component of that data set, do something to them. Okay, so the way it is going to work, we're going to say for a component of our data set in the data set, do something to each component. Okay, that's functionally what our loops are going to be. So let's see some examples. We have a new list of data. The list contains integers 1 through 5, and let's say that I wanted to add, say, 10 to each number. I could go through and print them out. So I could do this by doing print new list and the 0 position. Okay, that gives me 1. I can copy that and then change this to 1. Okay, so you can see it's going to get pretty tedious pretty quick. Okay, we don't need to do that. We don't need to print out each line, especially if we're thinking about having 100 different lines on here. What we want to do is to do something like for num in new list, print num plus say 10. And now we have our output, which is each individual numbers plus 10. Or if you just want to print out each individual number, we'll just do that, right? So what this is saying for an item, and we can give this whatever thing that we want to call this. We can call this, we can call this golf ball. That would be fine. You want to try to stick to things that are, make sense, right, in the context, so you don't mess things up. But for number in new list, print out each number. Okay, so we have our component, we have our new list, and we have printing out each component of the new list after we do stuff to that. Okay, so let's look at another example. Favorite fruits. Let's say we have in our favorite fruits list, we have apple, cherry, and banana. I did not put this in alphabetical order. That's okay. Now I can go through and use the index to print each one, but let's say instead I want to print all of them at the same time as individual items. Okay, so I'd say for fruit in fave fruits, and then I would say print fruit. Okay. There we go. Sorry, it took a while there. So let's delete this one. See. Okay. So great. And I can do other stuff with the strings, right? I can use the string methods. I can change it to uppercase, right? Let's try and show you this. Fave fruits and print it out. Okay. So what I've done in the for loop is asked for each item in this favorite fruits data container, print each item, but then uppercase each item. And then you'll notice down here I've printed outside of the for loop. So we have indentation here, it means it's inside the for loop. Outside the for loop, I have printed out each item. And you'll notice that even after I've run the for loop, that the items still say lowercase. Okay, we're making changes locally here. Okay, these changes are not overwriting what's in here. Okay, you don't want to do that. You change things locally, or if you want to run a for loop and change them, you put them into new data container. The reason why I say that is if you wanted to say, do something like fave fruits dot append and put this like this, what's going to happen is that this will never stop running. It's an infinite loop. Why? Because for each item in there, I'm adding into here the uppercase, and so it's just going to keep cycling through each individual item and never stop. It will not work. Okay? And so the way you would want to do this is you would want to create def fav fruit, and we're going to create an empty list, and we're going to put, instead of that, we'll put def fav fruit, and then we can print out def fav fruit. Okay, and so what we've done here is used our for loop to basically uppercase each item and then add it back into our empty list right here. Okay, so now we have apple, cherry, banana, apple, cherry, banana. Okay, so that is, high level, what are for loops. Let's take a look at some other examples, okay? Let's say we have grades. We have all of these grades, and let's say that I want to, look at the average score of all of the grades in the list, okay? So I would need to add all of those scores up and then count the length of the list, or the number of items in the list, and then divide the total score divided by the number of items in the list. Okay, so let's start with a total score is equal to 0, and then we are going to say for grade in grades, we're going to say total is plus or equal to grade. Okay, and then we're going to get the average. Average is equal to total divided by the length of grades. Length is going to give us our, if you don't remember from previous ones, the return of the number of items in a container. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and then we can print out average. And that should give us 86.9. Okay, so what did I do right here? What is this? So what I'm saying is for each individual item, each grade, in the grades data set, take the total value, add in, and make it the new sum with grade. Okay? And so each time going through, it's saying, oh, give me the grade, plus 90. So this is our new title. Instead of 0, it's now 85. Okay? Next item. Instead of 85, now it is 175. Okay, blend plus 78 plus 70. So we use this plus equal sign. It doesn't have to be plus equal sign either. We could do minus equal sign. We could do multiplication equal sign. We can build in different indicators here in order to have a running sum. Okay, so that is another example. Let's say, as another example, let's say we wanted to, build in some additional structure into this. Well, maybe not this one. Let's do a different one. There. Let's keep the same data set, and let's do an if statement in here. So we're going to say something like for grade in grades, if grade is greater than 80, we are going to say print student got an A, and we can say else print student got a B. And it's going to cycle through, well, I guess it should be C. And it's going to cycle through each line, each item, and give us an output. Okay? So if you have a lot of data and want to kind of figure out what to do with automating things, this is what comes in handy. Next, let's talk about the range function. So we're going to say, let's say I wanted to add up all of the numbers between 1 and 100. Okay, so 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5, so on and so forth. How would I do that? Well, we can use the range function to create basically a range of numbers. Okay, we do range functions are used in for loops. Okay, and we're going to say something like, well, let's just do our total is equal to 0. That's what we're going to add. And we're going to say for number in our range of 101. So the way you can see, and you can see this from this support explanation here, any number that goes, the first number, if we just do 1, is going to be the range. So it's 0, 0 is the starting point, and then the number that you put in minus 1. So this will give me a range of 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way to 100. Okay. I can also build in start and stops. So if I want to start at, say, 50, I can put in 50, and then comma, and then stop. Okay, so this will give me numbers 50 through 100. Let's say I wanted to do by twos. Okay, this would do 50. Right, we can even just see it. I can type correctly. Print. No. Okay, and so now we're getting each number with our set our interval here. Okay, and we can change this to whatever number we wanted to, and it will give us the intervals there. So again, if we just do a single number, we just do 101, that will give me 1 to 100. And you can see it goes, or 0 to 100. Okay, if I build in the first number, that'll give us our starting point. It's not, okay. And if I build in the third number at the end, it'll give us our the number of intervals, okay, number of steps, okay. So let's say I wanted to add up all of the numbers. So I can go 101, and then I could say total plus equal to num. And then I can print out the total. Okay, and it's 5050. Okay. Now, let's say instead I wanted to multiply them. It gives me 0. Why? Well, this range is 0 to 100. Okay? 0 times any number is 0. So it doesn't matter how many you put in here. If you do 0, it is going to always end up 0. So to fix that, I do 1. Okay? So 1 times 1 is 1, 1 times 2 is 2, 1 times 3, and so on and so forth. Okay? Oh, it's not letting me do it. Okay, let's look at the problem here. Okay, and it's still not working. Why? Well, number is still 0. The first number is still 0. Okay, so we need to start here with a 1. Okay, and this is what happens when you multiply all of the numbers between 1 and 100 and 1 together. This is what you get. Okay? All right, so that is range. We can use range forwards and we can use range backwards. What I mean by that is if we wanted to have a countdown, we could do that. Okay. We are just going to, let's just take all of this stuff out. We don't need it. And print out num. And let's say we want to count down from 10. 10 to 0, -1. Okay. What I'm saying is start at 10, go to 0, and count by -1. If I want to get all the way to 0, because it's -1, I got to start at -1. Okay, so whatever number you want to end at, add or subtract 1 depending on which direction you're going to. Okay. Okay, and so while lists and tuples are similar, let's look at dictionaries. Dictionaries follow a little bit different rule. Okay, let's say I want to print out each item here. Okay, so I want to say for X, or for name, and for score in my dictionary of student scores. Print, let's say print, I'll do an F string, name, score, and finish that there. Okay, will this work? No. Why will it not work? It does not know how to deal with 2 arguments here. Okay, we've tried to kind of set up too many values, right? Dictionaries operate on key value pairs. Okay, so if you have name and score, it assumes that these are 2 things, but it can't handle this. So for dictionaries, we do items. And we have to add in, not mistype. There we go. Okay, so let's make this a little nicer with the, there we go. So what are the things to remember with dictionaries? One is that because they operate on key value pairs, we need to set up two different arguments here, or two different variables. We need to use items, okay? Those are the two big things to remember. It will not work if you are not going to do it in that fashion, okay? All right, the last thing I will show you today is a for loop within a for loop. Okay, so nested for loops. So we're going to say for I in range of, say, 1 to 6. So that's going to give me 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then for j in range 1 to 6, again 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we are going to print I times j is equal to I times j. Okay. And what is this giving us? This is giving us a multiplication table for these different numbers. Okay, so for each one, I added a print here so that adds a space between the running of the i's, the i's first, and then j. Okay, but this is giving us the multiplication table for all of the numbers in the range of 1 to 5. Okay, so 1 times 1, 2 times 1, 3 times 1, 4 times 1, 5 times 1. Okay, so all of the pairs that exist between these two numbers. Okay, because it's saying for each individual item in 1 through 5, and also for all of these items, we've basically created two subsequent lists that we can use in tandem, or two subsequent for loops that we can use in tandem. Okay, so that's all on for loops. There's a lot here. It's best to get some practice. For lab work, do remember that things like using the total, let's see if I can remember, things like this total and these things like this are extremely useful for adding things up and summing things and going through each items and pulling it all together. Okay, all right, we'll see you next time.